Hi, and welcome along to Steve Wraith's True Crime Interviews, and delighted to be joined by Ray Gilbert today. How are you, Ray?
I'm fine, thank you, Steve.
Good to see you, mate. And as people know who are regular viewers or listeners to the podcast, we get people on with some very interesting life stories. And this one, as you will know, we've covered many miscarriages of justice on our podcast. This one is another one which I've got to be honest had me amazed when I started looking into the case as to how people can get things so wrong, and as a result cause so much distress to one person's life. And this is what has happened to Ray, and we'll come to the case in due course. But let's just get a little bit of background on you, Ray. Tell us a little bit about where you were brought up, where were you born?
I was born in Liverpool in 1958. My birth certificate says Liverpool South, which is Wavertree district. I was brought up originally in Toxteth, but when he started knocking down all the old houses, my family moved to Speke. I actually went from Speke into care, moved around from Allerton to Croxteth to West Derby in care. Then I went back home, it didn't work, and then went back down to my dad's side in Toxteth.
I mean, that's not a great start for any youngster in life going into care. I mean, what can you remember about those days, Ray?
I remember quite a lot. The first place I went to was I started going into foster care. It might have been for a few days, a couple of weeks. Then I kept going back home. Then I went into care on a permanent basis in 1966. The first place I went to was called the Mission Unit, which was for like young kids. I was only there for a few weeks. Then I went to a place called New Hayes. I was there for a while. Then I went to a permanent place run by a husband and wife in Croxteth. Stayed there with them for a while. Then they moved to a bigger place in Tubruch, and I stayed there till 74. And then went home and just went off the rails.
What was it like for you at school, Ray? Were you somebody who studied at school? Or did you stick in, or were you a bit of a wild child?
I think I was more. People say I was a loser. I was a class clown. I was involved with a group known as the Dirty Dozen at school. Anything that went wrong, we were the ones that got blamed. And being a mixed race kid at the time, sometimes I'd get chased around the yard by the yard company next door to the school saying, "It's him, the nigger, get him." Or ice cream van used to come in and we used to all surround it and try and tip it over. And someone jumped in and try and take stuff. He'd jump out and chase me around the yard. So I always used to get blamed for quite a lot of stuff, but mainly I actually found it sound. I mean, if it did put me mind to it, I was okay, but I think most of the time I think I was easily led.
Did you have any brothers and sisters, Ray?
Yes, I've got Keith died a few years ago, cancer. Arthur and Yvonne, they're both twins. Then there's me, then there's Derek. They're to me dad. Then there's two half brothers, Robert and Gary.
And were they all in care as well, or were some of them living at home?
No, they've been at home most of their lives. I mean, the first five of us, they were in and out foster care, but I was the only one that went into care full time.
Tough upbringing. I mean, in care homes, we hear some horror stories in the northeast about kids being bullied and the like. I mean, did that happen to you?
No, I was mainly battered at home by my mum in care. Didn't have that, but I was severely beaten up on a few occasions by my mum, and it was like it was her own sisters that reported it, and that's how I ended up going into care full time.
Yeah, I mean, suffering trauma at that kind of age is always going to have an effect on someone as they get older. I mean, as you got older, what was, what did you have ambitions? Did you might not have been doing well at school? Did you enjoy sport? Did you have any hope or ambition as you ended your teenage years?
I think as I entered my teenage years, I think I was probably just one of them that just happy go lucky. I used to play football with the kids in the streets during the football season. We used to play cricket when it was the cricket season. Then as I started mixing with the other elements from school, then started going out with them, drinking. And then at the time, used to, like in any other area, used to have gangs that used to fight each other. So that started happening. Then we started going places and things, and then started petty thieving and that. No, I was just I think I was probably off the rails. I didn't have that like fatherly support there enough to try and guide me. I didn't see the people who ran the home as parents. You know what I mean? So even though they did well for everyone there, I think I probably needed that like firm hand.
Mm. I mean, you say thieving and petty crime. I mean, can you remember your first crime? I mean, it's a question I've asked a few people on here, but it's, a lot of people probably nick a packet of polos or go in and do something. Can you remember your first crime that you committed?
I think, yeah, when I was at school, there used to be a little corner shop. So we all used to pile in the shop. And when someone used to get the woman behind the counter to turn her back and reach up for something at the top, we'd rob something and all just pile out. But I was doing it in the home as well. I'm not proud of it. I used to go and rob money off the husband, go to school and gamble.
Was there a bit of peer pressure in there? Because you say you're knocking around with gangs and with people, was there a little bit of, kids egging each other on?
I think probably, yeah, because I think from reports I've actually read from school, everyone used to class me as the class clown who do anything. I mean, didn't say it all like that. Well, is he a leader? Is he a follower? So I think I was just viewed as just a kid who just do anything for attention.
Can you remember your first run-in with the police, Ray?
Yeah. I was with a group of kids and we were loitering outside off license in Liverpool, and some girls used to socialise with the group come down one day and said, oh, one of the lads has just been attacked. So we went up and fought this group, and out of the old group I actually got nicked for unlawful wounding. I mean, at the time I was 15, the kid who got injured was 14, so I got nicked for that, and I got taken to a police station in Eaton Road and got charged with that. Went to court to the juveniles. They remanded me direct to the Crown Court, saying it was too serious, and never got pressured or nothing like that. Just straight in. I said yeah, and went to court, and I got postal for it. But I was told if I had been any older, I would have probably got 5.
Wow, that's a hell of a start. I mean, what was your mindset like, when you were arrested by the police? Were you overly concerned? I mean, for me, I was arrested once as a young man, and it was for a drunken disorderly charge. But ultimately, I was terrified, and I was locked up. I was locked up at 7 o'clock at night. I was banged up till 3 a.m. The old trick by the police, and then letting you out, so you have to go back and see your parents. I've got to be honest, it was a huge wake-up call to me, and I never went down that route of being a criminal. But for you, was there a nervousness, or was it just
No, I think when I got took in, they asked me my name. I given my name. I think the sergeant behind the desk said, "Oh, is so and so your dad?" And I went, "Yeah." So he actually knew my dad. So I just put in a cell and left. I mean, to be honest with you, never thought nothing of it. You know what I mean? I just thought myself, I'm just unlucky as the only person who actually got arrested out of the whole gang.
To go behind bars, then, I mean, what was that a bit of a culture shock?
With Borstal.
Yeah.
It was at the time because when I went there to Inley, it was like kids from Liverpool were on two wings, kids from Manchester were on two wings, and there used to be battles in what was used to be called the M1. There used to be a big passageway between both wings where all the workplaces and that were off at kitchens and the gym were off. They all used to meet halfway down and fight. But the wing I was on, there was a lot of racism. Coloured people were being attacked on there. So there was a few battles going on. Look, I mean, I had a few run-ins with people over it. But yeah, it was a culture shock. I've gone there. I didn't really know anybody. Me sister's boyfriend at the time was there, but he got out about a week after I got on his wing. So he just turned around and said, and give me a bit of advice. He said, keep your head down. There's a lot of shit going on. Whites attacking blacks.
Was there much racism at the hands of the officers there?
No, I actually didn't experience that. I didn't experience that until I probably went to Strangeways in 1982.
Yeah. I mean, you come out of that sentence. How long did you actually serve in Borstal?
I did. I mean, at the time, it was the usual 6 months to 2. So you could have spent 2 years depending on how you behave. So I think I did 9 months.
And did just talk us a little bit through that. I mean, did you get a job? Did you get any education in there, or were you literally just keeping your head down, going to work, going home, going back to your cell? Sorry, and just that was it.
No, I used to. I used to work there. I worked in a workshop, and then I think I worked on the outside party where we were building the road in the sports field, where we built a road like round for something else. And then I think I spent a bit of time in the block and then got out. But no, I don't think I actually learned nothing at all. I mean, you go into most places these days, you're learning about crime, how to get out, do this and do that, because that's all people talk about. So me, crime. I mean, did this, did that. This is how you can do this, and this is how you can do that. So, okay, you might have a little group that you get on there with that you talk to on a level, but the rest of the time, all you hear is people's stories.
You come out. What was your what was your mindset when you were released from that sentence at Borstal?
I came out 1975. I actually went to a hostel. I only stayed that night and left. So I was probably living rough after that till I got nicked again.
Living rough is something which, again, we've spoke about on this channel with other interviewees. I mean, again, it's another part of trauma, a traumatic experience. I mean, what was that like, and how did you survive, Ray?
Well, I used to do petty theft. I mean, I'm not proud of myself. I used to do snatches, go into shops, order a big box of food, get them to turn their back and pick something up off the top shelf and just do a bunk with a box of food. And then I met an oldest fella who was doing whatever he was doing, I used to keep in his car. And then I just started going in and doing houses.
When you say going and doing houses, were you doing, were you like a sneak thief, or were you burgling houses?
I was burgling houses. Or sometimes I'd go in during the day like a sneak thief.
Mm. I mean, I guess it's, you're doing that to survive. It's as simple as that.
Mm. I was, yeah, because at the end of the day, I mean, I didn't know my dad's side at the time. So my mum's side, every time I went home, it didn't work. I mean, it's a case of, okay, I probably didn't forgive for what happened, not just to me, but to me dad. And then if it used to take anyone back, a girl back, she used to do nothing but run me down. You know what I mean? So it just didn't work. I mean, my attitude didn't help, and my behavior didn't help. So it was a contribution of and me. We just didn't get on.
It was just a clash, a clash, which was never gonna right itself after all that time. So obviously, let's go to the main reason we've got you on the show, and we're going to fast forward only by 6 years to 1981, and something which really changed the course of your life forever. It has to be said, and that was this crime which took place at a betting shop, Coral Racing Shop, on Lodge Lane in 1981. John Suffield Jr. Essentially, was murdered. There's no other way of saying it. And for reasons best known to the authorities, you became target number one. And I mean, tell us about this, Ray, because ultimately for you, you've admitted you did wrong, and you didn't have a great start in life. You've become a petty thief. You're burgling to survive. You're living rough. You haven't had any help from the system, because the system does fail, and still fails to this day. Many people who go into it, but you, as a young man, should have still, not spent the amount of time in prison that you did for a crime that you didn't commit. So tell me, how this all started for you.
It started for me where, unbeknown to me, my name had actually gone in the frame by someone who was arrested for a copper tank. Now, 3 of us had been walking behind what's known as N Twistle Heights in Toxteth at the top of Upper Parliament Street in Liverpool, and we got stopped by Old Bill police, and one of the kids had a copper tank. Now, I actually lived in the Heights, so I was able to prove that, so I was let go. The other 2 got took to a cop shop, Wavy Tree Road. Now, the kid who had the tank took the blame, but the other kid asked for to have a meeting with the police. He wouldn't make a statement, but he turned around and said, yeah, jobs were being prepared to do, and I was going to be armed. And I thought, wow. Now, this only come out in the undisclosed evidence, which wasn't released at trial, which I didn't know about. So on the 16th of March, I'm walking up towards Lodge Lane to actually go to one of my cousins. Now, I had heard about what had happened on the Lodge Lane the days before, because the people they arrested originally, as supposed to be, have threatened the betting shop manager the day before the murder over the dodgy bet. So they were arrested and suddenly eliminated from the inquiries by Saturday night, because it was in the paper on the Sunday. So I'm walking up to my cousins. I heard this car do a mad screech U-turn on Lodge Lane. Next minute, I've been grabbed, bundled into a car. You wouldn't explain nothing, got into Admiral Street Police Station. He went, "You're arrested on suspicion of murder." And I'm thinking, wow, what's going on here? Now, I wasn't aware that they were looking for me. I was actually on bail at the time for the robbery of a man in his house. And I was signing on at Admiral Police Station every night until they arrested me. So if I had done it, they had the opportunity to actually pull me in when I was signing on, but didn't. So I was grabbed, put in, taken in. I'm just like that. My head's now in the shed, and I'm going, "What's going on here? I haven't done fucking no murder." So I'm in one of the olden cells. So I knocked on the wall to a kid who was next door. I said to him, "What are you here for?" And he went, "Same as you." I said, "Have you mentioned anything?" He said, "Yeah, we've given them names of people inside and people outside who we think might have done the crime." So they've come in and they've asked me where I was. So I turned around and said, "Yes, I was with a girl on Mill Street in a flat." So I described the outside of the door so they knew what it looked like. So they've asked me a couple more questions, left, gone out to hers, unbeknown to me. I think they pulled her in because they had it upstairs when I'm actually being questioned. So they come back in, probably might have been an hour later, asked me some more questions about did they have the right flat, the front door, what was it doing that day. So I explained that we woke up early, had a row that morning over there having an affair with me mate, and then I ran out downstairs to get a newspaper, firelighters for the fire to eat up the old water, and then back in. And I didn't leave the house till I had to go to the police station that day at 6 o'clock. So they went back out, and then I don't know how long it was later, brought me out, took me into the holding room by the charge desk, and that's where all the nonsense started. There are two pictures on a desk pertaining to be me and me co-accused, and they're like, that's you, that's him. I went, "No, they don't look like him, they don't look like me." I said, "They look like people I know." I say, "But I don't know names." So one of them then started being funny. "That's you, that is fucking you." He said, "From the information we've got on you and him, you're the heavy man, he's the bad man." And I'm thinking, wow, where are you getting all of this from? Because I was thinking, yeah, I had done things with this kid. And I'm thinking, wow, okay, now. So then an argument happened between me and one of the coppers. One of them jumped on me, grabbed me round the neck, and then we struggled to the floor. They got up, ran out, come back in 5 minutes later and went, "That's how you attack the man in the betting shop." So that it was it. They were adamant from that. "You've done it. I've got 15 years left in the service. He's got 10. You ain't getting out until our time's done." So from that, it was just constantly, "It's you, it's you, it's you." They weren't prepared to listen to anything I actually said. You know what I mean? They were just adamant it was me. So it didn't matter what I actually said. They weren't letting things go. "It's you, it's you, that's him." And from then it was just constant pressive questioning. I mean, at the time, my speech is fine now, but I used to have a severe speech impediment. So if I was under stress, my speech would be actually absolutely terrible. So if I was quiet, they'd think I was hiding something. It'll be like that, even more. You know what I mean? So yes, I owned up to something I didn't do.
Okay, so the victim in this, ultimately was stabbed 19 times at the Coral Racing shop. where he worked on Lodge Lane in 1981. And just really so people get the gist of this, he was, somebody just going about his business, going about his work, and he's been a victim here. But you were arrested with a co-accused, John Kamara. There was absolutely nothing to link either of you to the scene. There was no forensic evidence, no identification from witnesses. And again, I've read a little bit on the case, and even the victim's dad has expressed doubts over your guilt. The fact that you basically were interrogated for 48 hours without a solicitor present is bad enough. The interviews and the alleged confession, were also not recorded, not taped at all.
No.
And during the interrogation, obviously you changed your statement a number of times, but as soon as you were allowed to speak to a lawyer, quite rightly, you protested your innocence because you didn't do this. So how on earth did this get to court, Ray?
What happened is we both went on identification parades. I wasn't picked out by the three main witnesses. He was. But at the time, I don't think I was aware or anybody else was aware that the guidelines had been broken. But other people have been picked out on my parades, but were never actually questioned. So we've been remanded. My alibi had been remanded. We didn't know she'd been charged with harboring me till it came on the radio. So a week later, she had all charges dropped. She became then a prosecution witness. And then people in jail started making statements saying, we said this and we said that. And I'm like, wow, that didn't happen. I mean, 3 people, the same night we got arrested and were charged and took to the main Bridewell in Liverpool, we got put into different cells, and then in the morning they put everybody in cells waiting to go up. We're in the cell now with about 4 other people. So we're both sitting here behind the door. There's a kid sitting there, a Chinese fella sitting there, someone else in the corner, and he was a drunk on the floor. This kid sitting just behind the door said to us, asked us what we were in for. So we went to the betting shop. He went, I actually know the family. All chat went dead. He got took out about 20 minutes later. Then this kid in the corner starts talking to me co-accused. They found out that they were in Walton with each other. So they're talking. Next minute, he's made a statement saying, we've said this and I've said that. The Chinese fella, he couldn't understand the English. He's made a statement. So we're going back and forward to court each week. They're taking people out of the holding cells with us and blatantly sitting them on a bench outside the cell door, asking them what we'd said in the cells. So then, besides that, my co-accused then had an interview in April in the main Bridewell, him and his beef with 2 coppers, and he said it was me and my cousin, and then he drew pictures of me trainers, pictures of the souls. For whatever reason, he refused to make a statement. And then before trial, we have the committal. So we've gone to committal. 2 of the lads who made the statements were brought at the committal. Messed up, but they decided to take it to the Crown Court. Then one of the kids, who was a main prosecution witness, come from strange ways back to Risley overnight. Now, I'm downstairs in what you call the block. It wasn't a block. It was just one half of the landing. And this kid's put downstairs in the block, but on the opposite side. So he's got called to the door. He was asked why he made this statement. He said he didn't. He said it was written out by my co-accused. and given to him and said, give that to the police and say, this is what he's told you. Now, I heard rumours that two very well-known, notorious criminals had got involved in the case on his behalf. So he was in Strangeways at the time in patches because his brother-in-law tried to do a bunk handcuffed to him one week in at the main bridewell, but they got caught before they got about 20 yards. So he's in Strangeways. The 3 prosecution witnesses are in Strangeways. My cousin he accused of doing it is in Strangeways, and one of these notorious criminals is in Strangeways. Now, I heard rumours that they were having meetings with these prosecution witnesses, telling them what to actually say in court. So when they come to court, one of them was refusing to give evidence, but in the end, he actually did. At no time did I speak to 2 of them. One of them, yes, I did. I was in healthcare with my co-accused when you first go in then to determine whether you become a Cat A. So I'm in an Oldham cell. My co-accused was on the other side in an Oldham cell, but then he got put on the ward next door to this kid. So they're talking each day. So this kid comes to me one day in the bathhouse in the hospital. He said, you need to tell your co-accused to fucking shut up because he keeps going on this, saying this, that, and that. And then the only other time I spoke to him was on the yard with my co-accused, asking me if I'd done the crime. I said no. So these have come to court, and they're giving their evidence. And after the first day, the prosecution stands up, makes a speech in which they had to dismiss the first jury because what he said, what one says against the other can't be held against anybody unless they go in the witness box and say whatever. So that jury was dismissed on a point of law. They brought in a new jury on the second day, started again, then dismissed that jury on the basis of saying there was rumours that it's either a police officer was on the jury or the prison officer's wife. Now, we never found out the reason why. They brought in a third jury, just carried on as normal until the prosecution finished their case. We started the defence. So I was in the box for about an hour. And then the next day before we actually went up again, my co-accused is in one cell, I'm in another cell. You can communicate through the vents. So he's turning out to me and said, look, if I get found guilty, you're going to get killed. And he named the 2 people who were interfering in the case. And down to their reputations and who they are, I went, whoa, what do I do? He said, look, I don't want to see anything happen to you, but if I get found guilty, you're in trouble. So I went in and just put my hands up to it to try and get him off. And then since then, I've been fighting my case now for, well, I haven't done it. I was fucking put under severe pressure to actually get him off.
What sentence did you receive, Ray?
I received a life sentence with a 15-year recommendation off the judge. So I would serve 15 years before I even got looked at.
What did you feel like in the dock when you heard that sentence handed down?
I had to hold on to the rail. My body was absolutely shaking from inside and it came to the outside. So my body was like that. I couldn't stop shaking. I had to hold on to the rails. But I was in a mess, shock. I thought, I haven't done this.
Which was the first prison that you ended up in then, Ray?
Walton.
And I mean, again, you know, you've been through, you know, Borstal, to go into Walton, again, I would imagine this whole thing is a culture shock and that having to get used to the fact that you're not looking at 9 months here, you could be looking at the rest of your life for a crime you didn't commit.
Yeah, well, we both went to Walton. he was in patches, what's known as the banana suits. I was downstairs in the block on GOAD. So we had to go back up to court for the other charge of robbery on a man in the house, which I did do. So we got 3 years for that. So after that, they didn't want to keep us in the same jail. I got moved to Strangeways.
And moving to Strangeways, of course, is in Manchester. I mean, this is where you said you realised that some of the prison officers were quite racist.
Yes, I actually got there. When I got there, I actually had a sit down with the governor. He said, "I'm going to give you a chance. I'm going to put you up on a wing. The minute you raise your head above the parapet, your feet won't touch the floor." So after 5 days, I'm on the wing. I'm leaning over the railing. I heard someone shout, "You nigger, what do you think you're doing?" And I looked around and then I looked down and he's looking at me. He said, "What?" So I said to the screw, I said, "You talking to me?" He said, "Yeah, I'm talking to fucking you black bastard." So I automatically responded. I said, "Who you talking to, you fucking white cunt?" So this PO come along then and said, "Get up there, get that nigger and bring him to my office on the ones." Now, it was a cubicle that used to go across like that. So he's come up the stairs to try to grab me. I said, "Get your hands off me." So we walked down to this office cubicle. I walked in and this PO said to me, "My name's Mr. Edwards. When I treat you with respect, I expect it back." I said, "My name's Mr. Gilbert. When you talk to me like shit, I'm going to throw a bucket of shit all fucking over you." So that was it. He went, "Get this nigger in the block and give him it." So I got taken down the block. One screw come in the pad with me, and then there's about 4 or 5 standing in the doorway. So you have to take your gear off. So I took my t-shirt off, give him it. He's giving me back. As soon as I pulled it over my face, he punched me about 4 times in the face. So they've all steamed in then when I started fighting back. So I went in front of the governor, whose name was Brown at the time. He was a notorious governor. So I ended up getting 28 days. So they've come to me, the doctor, and he's given me a tot. I wasn't on any meds. So he's given me the stuff. It was Largatural in liquid form. It was the worst thing I've ever happened to me. I've took weed. I've had an E. I've took a bit of Charlie and that. But this, I'm in a cell now with the punishment cell with the little plinth on the floor and like a concrete stump. I had a towel ripped in half round my neck like that, standing in the middle of the cell. I wouldn't move from the cell, from that spot, because I was petrified. I could hear voices outside thinking they're coming in to do me in. There was a vent in the cell. After a while, I'm down at the vent. Imagine I'm having a full-blown conversation with me family. I don't know how long I was in that cell, but I was like that for several days. And then I've come out, going up, asking for this, asking for that, then going back. I had no idea what was going on. You know what I mean? And then a couple of days later, I'm on a food protest, no food, no water, over the case. And after 5 days, he took me up to the healthcare. And this governor, Brown, came in to the healthcare and he went to me, "Only way you're leaving my jail, you black bastard, is in a wooden box." So after the 5 days, back down the block. And at the time, there was a lot of protesting at Manchester. E-Wing, which was the remand wing, they were all out on the yard one day, all refused to come in. These, as you say, certain people then had influence and they were like that, "You're all staying out. If you don't stay out, we'll do you. Never mind the fucking screws." So that night when they've all banged up, 3 people have set fire to a cell in protest and died. So then someone set fire to a cell on the other wing. Someone set fire in the healthcare, and I thought, right, I'm having some of this. So they forgot to take the furniture out of me pad. in the box. So I've smashed all the furniture up. You couldn't barricade it because the cells were too big. So I've turned the bed on its side, pushed it against the door, set fire to the stuff. So I've had a burning table leg in my hand. So probably 10, 15 minutes, they come to the door, they're trying to get in. They've got a miniature fire extinguisher in the hand like that. So they've managed to get in, push me up against the wall. They weren't putting the fire out. They had me spread eagle like that against the wall with the fire extinguisher, squeezing it right in my face. So I think they were trying to choke me on whatever it was that's in it. And then they dragged me out, put me into a special cell. A doctor come in from outside, just stood in the doorway, didn't come in and check me, walked away. Then the fire department come in. They just stood in the doorway, looked at me, walked away. So the next morning, they've all piled in. Said, right, put on that, which was a spacesuit, what we call a spacesuit. So they've all jumped on me and put it on me, dragged me in to the governor again. He went, you've been kicking off since you've been in. This is your 16th adjudication. You've been ordered to do 15. I'm going to make sure you do 30 and then get sectioned. And I turned around and said, you know what? They should have left you to die in a tent, you burnt bastard, because he was burnt down one side. That was it. We were, get this nigger out and fucking do him. You know what I mean? So back out again. Few more kicks and fucking punches off them. And then I ended up going to Scrubs after the couple of months.
I mean, it's horrifying that you had to go through this, Ray. I mean, was there a chance of appeal on your case in those early days?
I actually was trying to do my own appeal when I was in Strangeways, but I think they were messing about with the paperwork, so I sent stuff off. And I think they went to the single judge who knocked it back. So then I was just trying to get people involved. I used to write letters out all the time, MPs, House of Lords, every newspaper, every radio station, anyone I could think of. I mean, some jails I went to, the screws used to moan. Oh, we've got someone who's posted so much mail today, we can't do exercise. So in the end, it just become an actually joke with screws, because I was getting me mail from, I used to get regular mail from MPs and House of Lords. They used to open it blatantly, and I used to go on every jail. You know what I mean? I said, look, you're not allowed to do this, but they don't care about rules. They used to break them. They even tried to set me up in a couple of jails to actually be done in. And it wasn't just regards to crime. In one jail, I was taking the piss out of a female screwess who was mixed race. And I said, what are you doing working for these? Your people have been probably slaves in it, and you're working for these. Someone got called down the stairs to the gate and said, he's in for doing a child. So I ended up getting my pad smashed up. So I took them to the county court and actually won the case in the county court for having me things trashed. But that wasn't the only time I was even on the special unit at Woodhill. Schools used to be so many different groups, so there'd be 4 of us on each group. And one day I've come out and there's another group out at the same time, which shouldn't have happened. I knew something was weird. You know what I mean? So when I've gone in for my shower, someone else was in the shower. He said, look, I've just been told by a screw that you put your co-accused in. Now, I'm dealing with people on the unit. The vast majority I'd killed in jail. You know what I mean? So I'm thinking, wow, you should do anything possible to actually set me up, to take me out. Whether it was because I was seen as a pain in the backside. Because I used to put, sometimes, some weeks, I put 500 apps in just to wind them up, just to create paperwork. And some people used to say, I bet you a bar of chocolate you won't. I said, okay, give us the bar of chocolate. So I used to just wind them up. If I didn't get an answer within 24 hours, I'd put more paperwork in. Then I used to use the request and complaint system. I used to sometimes get banned for just to have one a week. I'd write to MPs. MPs would write in and say, what's going on in your jails? You know what I mean? So it used to be like just a mad circle. You know what I mean? So
it's very similar to my good friend Charlie Salvador, who again is, is suffering at the hands of the law and the justice system because there's no justice in the amount of time that he spent behind bars, and it's exactly the same, putting paperwork in, being a nuisance to the authorities, kicking off, violence, attacking prison officers. It's a vicious circle. If you get into that, it's very difficult to get out of it, Ray.
I know it is, but the same person you're talking about, he shouldn't have got the life sentence. I was there when it happened, when he took the teacher hostage. There were 6 screws on the wing. As soon as they knew the teacher come on, there was going to be issues. Let me see, there was 4 or 5 of us open at the time. The unit only used to hold about 8, but I think at the time there was about 6 of us. Teachers come on, they've all ran upstairs and locked themselves behind a little gate. So it could have been stopped. So they were shouting at everyone, bang, bang up, bang up. It took about half an hour to get everyone behind the door. So he's now with this teacher. So I had to smash my spy hole so I could look what was going on. So he's come up and he's sitting down on 2 soft chairs, him and the teacher. The teacher's asking the staff, can you exchange me for one of yous? They were going, no, we're not. Then you're seeing all the old bill coming in from outside, because my cells used to be facing the arbor on one side of the A wing, a hole. And the teachers were coming down the paths going mad, get in there, do them in, they've smashed up all of our computers. And then you could hear drills getting drilled in the holes in the wall, so you could put CTV and whatever it is, camera, so you could see where he was. So when we come out the next morning and went down the block, he had destroyed the ground floor. It was in blitz. We had our own kitchen, own little washroom, 2 TV rooms, our own exercise, all kinds of cupboards and all that, our own little gym. It had been destroyed. But that could have been prevented if they stopped the teacher. I actually come to court to give evidence on his behalf. The judge refused his witnesses from jail. I come from Durham unit. I should have come with someone else. Someone else didn't want to come. So I'm then housed in Woodhill normal block. And I didn't even get produced at court on his behalf. He should have got an appeal and won that appeal.
Fascinating insight. Your case took a bit of a turn for the better when the millennium came around, and your co-accused had his conviction overturned by the Court of Appeal after he served 19 years. I guess that was a huge turning point for you, and you must have been euphoric in the sense that it meant that surely, freedom was just around the corner for you.
Yes, I was happy because it had come out that 201 witness statements hadn't been disclosed, which when we sat down and read them all, it pointed to other people. And then his ID parade was proven to be the rules that had been broken, and he got a new alibi. But reading the appeal judgment, the judge says his confession's not worth the paper it's actually written on. So everyone was saying, well, if you've let him out, you should have let you out. The fact they didn't, the police didn't even reopen the case. You're saying it's more than a one-man crime. So why haven't you reinvestigated at all? So everyone was saying, why haven't they let you out? I mean, we went to the CCRC several times. I went to Bristol University for their Innocence Project. They actually got the police to find some stuff which wasn't held in a police station. It was held in cells under the court. They found 6 slides. We asked the CCRC conduct DNA. won't do DNA. They're trying to say they can't get nothing off them. And we're like that. Hang on a minute. You can go and find stuff in under the ice or this other stuff that's been there for years, and you can get DNA off bones. I say, so why are you refusing to test the 6 slides, which would give you proof that it wasn't me? You know what I mean? Then there's other stuff. If they found stuff, I mean, whoever did it, there must have been bags scattered all over the floor. So where these bags ever took and tested, because I don't think DNA was there then at the time. So the rope he was supposed to be tied up with, where's that gone? You know what I mean? So we don't know if everything has ever been released. I mean, all we got was the 201 witness statement. I had a psychological profile done in, I think it was 1998. And she said, I suffered from 1 point under the zone for paranoia then, personality issues. And she even said, yeah, he was susceptible after what he's gone through as a child. Now, if I had a second psychological report that supported that, we only had the one, the case would have gone back. But we requested the CCRC to do their own, won't. We sent a scenario in based on what we found in the undisclosed of certain people who did make the threats, give each other alibis, because there was a girl who used to live at the back of the betting shop in Masonette, where it used to go all the way down to the bottom from the top of Beaumont Street all the way to Kingsley Road. Now, she lived in a flat which she leased with one of the suspects, the original suspects, and their girl. She overheard a conversation going on in the bedroom. She wasn't allowed into the bedroom while this chat was going on. And so because of what she heard, she left the flat and went to live with a brother concerned for their own safety. Mother took her to the police station and got her to change her original statement. And then what they actually said, and we unearthed other stuff where this group, when had previous to robbing betting shops, they were known as the Hatchet Gang. And this kid had confessed before, they'd been nicked before, and he put them all in. So they was concerned that he was the weakling and he might put them all in. So we put that scenario into the CCRC, because when we looked at it all, there's no ID of them all from a certain time, and you're supposed to take a journey that would have lasted only 5 minutes from Selborne Street into town. You could walk it in 10 minutes. If you're going by car, you could be there in 5. It took 45 minutes to go from Selborne Street to town. And then they've gone to town, stopped the car. One of them got out the car to run back to Toxteth to go and pick up a car up so he could pick them up. And we're just thinking like that. Your stories don't make sense. Too many incidences, because we've looked at it now. The bootmaker who worked there used to go there every day, shout through the letterbox to get let in. This day the crimes happened. He's turned up late, he said. The gate was open, the light was on, but the door was locked. He's opened the letterbox, shouted through, so he said, didn't get no answer. So he's walked away. He's waited for another cashier to come before he decided to come with her to it. And then that's when they contacted police. So why didn't he do nothing then? You know what I mean? It's just strange that you've got, this is Lodge Lane, you've got Smithdown Road there, Upper Parliament Street there, Tunnel Road there. That's a big, massive junction. So you've got the Boundary Public House on the corner. You've got a garage, which was there for years. People were working on a roof here where the garage was. They said, nobody's seen anybody come out. So we asked a couple, been trying to find out if there was any backdoor entrances. We got an answer about a week ago. There was a service entrance at the back. And then there's a side entrance, where upstairs used to be a nightclub and snooker all back then. It's now actually a boxing club. So we went and did 3 videos. If people want to watch them, it's on YouTube. So if you weren't, no one was seen coming out, they'd either come out the side or come out the back, because I didn't know at the time that there was a pub at the back of where the betting shop was. So one entrance from the pub took you out onto Buttermere Street, and another entrance took you out onto Lawton Street, where one of the suspects was actually living in a flat. So it's just, you know what I mean? There's too many things that don't make sense. You know what I mean?
And the, you know, the unjust situation you found yourself in was that you weren't suddenly released either. And, you know, despite people speaking up for you, I mean, and people coming out on the media, you know, TV show made, you know, highlighting the case and the miscarriage of justice, and even the victim's father coming out and saying, you know, that he would have quite happily shook your hand, and he wanted you, you know, he felt that you needed to be released, and that major doubts had been cast into his mind about the death of his son, you know, because of the way that the whole investigation had been handled. I mean, you know, why did it take so long for you to be released? Was it simply because, you know, that you'd made a nuisance of yourself to the system behind bars?
I had been a pest, yes, but I don't think it was just that. I mean, I had 12 parole hearings before they said, okay. It was only on the 12th parole hearing that they said, look, we know your stance on the case. We're not going to question you at all. You know what I mean? So I think probably since the last one I had, the last hearing, a couple of people turned out to me and said, look, you can fight the case better outside than you can inside. Why don't you just shut up and give it a go? Try. So I actually went to the last jail I went to was Kenneth in McGull. Now, it used to be in the grounds of Ashworth. It used to be part of Ashworth, but then become a Cat C, stroke like Cat C, Cat B, but it was more run like a Cat A. I went there, and as soon as I got there, there was this governor. He's looking at me. He said, "I remember you fucking little bastard. Remember you from Garth?" He said, "We had to wrap you up quite a few times in Garth." So he said, "My aim is to get you out." So give him his due. The first governor that had actually turned out to me said, "I'm prepared to give you a proper chance." I'd had it before Dartmoor with this PO on the wing after the riots kicked off in 1990. There was a big red mark across my file said, "This is a subversive prisoner, give him nothing." So this PO in Dartmoor decided to give me an opportunity back on the wing because they tried to charge me with inciting the others to riot. I said, "You can't charge me. I haven't done nothing." I said, "I'm in the block." You know what I mean? When your riot kicked off. So he actually gave me a chance, this governor in Kennett. So after a while, I ended up going out to work in a charity shop. Something happened there, and then they tried to stitch me up. I had letters to prove that what had happened was false. So I went back outside, started working in the prison kitchen, which was outside the jail. So you have to get day release to go and work in the kitchen. So from there, I started getting me home leaves. So I had a couple of town visits, and then it started coming out 1 day home leave. Then it went to 2 days, and it worked up to 5 days. So for several months, I was going out 5 days each month. So I was getting climatized to actually being outside. So it actually helped me. So give me the studio. There's a couple of staff there that didn't like me, did try to stitch me up. One tried to do it with a piss test. I was on medication for something, and they said, "Oh, it's come back positive." I said, "It's the meds." So it came out in the end that it actually was the meds. Otherwise, I would have been knocked back. You know what I mean? So it's just lucky for me. This governor went, "Okay, yeah."
So you come out of prison, and you know you have to adjust, which is very difficult. You know, but you've managed to do that, Ray. The fight for justice still goes on. I mean, you know, tell me what the situation is now.
Well, we've just had another knockback from the CCRC. We put an application in last year, middle of last year, and they come back before Christmas. They hadn't even looked at it. They actually got the application, looked at me previous applications and went, based on your previous apps, no. So they knocked it back. I had someone contact me a couple of weeks ago and asked me if I was prepared to do a program. So they didn't say certain other people were going to get involved. So I spoke to one person. I said, listen to what I had to say. So I was going to go and do it. Then someone else spoke to me. It was the director and went, oh, it's going to be a case about your co-accused. I'm thinking, well, he's been out for 20 odd years. He's won his case. I'd say this battle should be about me. And then I found out that they were interviewing a journalist, a lawyer, the victim's family. I said, well, why didn't you tell me that from the word go? So I said, well, listen, unless you give me in writing that I can say what I want to say, otherwise I said it isn't going to happen. So they were saying to me, I can't have anybody on the program speaking up on my behalf, but my co-accused could. I said, no, that's not fair. You've already said it's going to be a fair program. It hasn't turned out like that, so I haven't took part in it. You know what I mean? So that might be out May or June, but that's going to be based on him. So if he's allowed to say whatever he wants to say, okay, fair dues. Why can't I have the same? You know what I mean? So it's I've got a couple of things in the pipeline. You know what I mean? Which I'm trying to get off of the ground. Someone does want to do a documentary drama, but it's, as you say, it's finance. I don't work because of health reasons. I've been in hospital a couple of times in the past year because of I've had a few panic attacks which have been linked to blood pressure, which is being sky high. So I'm on all kinds of tablets for that. I've moved because when I used to go round to family in Liverpool, you could get the vibes from people I didn't know but knew me. You know what I mean? I'm thinking, wow, you know what I mean? And it used to be like sometimes I go their houses and people come in and they're looking at you, oh, is that him? Blah, blah, blah. And then I had to put a video doorbell on my flat door in Liverpool because I used to come out sometimes. I used to cover it up and thinking, am I getting looked at? Is someone going to stab me in the back? I had people trying the door several times and I'm thinking, nah, I can't stay. So I'm actually not in Liverpool no more. I didn't feel safe. Okay, family used to be fine with me, but the people they used to socialize with just didn't feel comfortable around. You know what I mean? Lucky for me, I'm actually with a very lovely woman who has been helping me on the case. You know what I mean?
You took a lie detector test with a good friend of mine, Terry Mullins. I've had the pleasure of meeting him not once but twice with Stephen Sayers and his ongoing battles. And Terry's a cracking guy. Tell us a little bit about the lie detector test and the results.
Well, the test we took, it was a test where it's not the same as a lie detector test. It's an eye detector test, which you sit in front of what I'm doing now, laptop. You put your chin on a whatever it's called, and you look into the screen, and dots come up on the screen to measure your eyes. So once it's done that, it then comes up with a green dot, and you've got to follow this dot, and then it comes up with a question. And part of the test, you have to be able to lie, say false or true on certain questions which are not related to the test. I mean, to the event. So if you can't lie, you can't pass the test. So you're sitting there, you're doing the test. Every question to do with the case, I passed. So we come up with, Terry said, 81% on the test. You are truthful. I mean, if you paused, you failed. The machine, any movement and you blink or something to do with your eyes, it will register as false. But this test is being used. It's being used in family courts. It's being used to monitor sex offenders before they come out. I think it's been already trialed from April last year, to monitor them outside as well. So if it's being used for that kind of issues, why can't they use it in a court for trial?
It's something which is becoming a big part of proving things, and Terry's the best in the world, one of the best in the world. So well done on doing that, and again, I think it's just a more compounding evidence for your innocence. I have got this as well, which is obviously an appeal for information. Ray, just tell us a little bit about this.
Well, this is, I mean, because like where the betting shop is on the junction, well, not far from the corner of the junction between three major roads. Now, this crime happened first thing in the morning when the traffic would have been busy. There would have been people on the street. Now, it's strange that people have said they've never seen anybody come out. Now, the entrance to the betting shop, the gate was supposed to have been open, covering the pavement, so people had to walk round it. So the people seeing people going in, three main witnesses, one in a bus drew cartoon pictures of two people standing in the doorway. He didn't pick me out, and another person said she's seen one person struggling with him, and another person standing there. She didn't pick me out. She picked out John, and the other person didn't pick me out. Now it's strange, isn't it? If people seem struggle, one person, right, and her testimony was judged suspicious. Now he's supposed to have had a newspaper on him and a bottle of milk on him. Now if he had them and he's in a struggle, they would have fell on the floor. But these were found inside the shop. So the gate's been open, the lights on, the door's locked. Now, only scenario it can come up with is the board marker went to the premises as he normally did, shouted through, the door was open, and whoever it was barged in. Or through him shouting, they've been let in. Because nobody's seeing anybody coming out. It's weird. You're talking about a major busy road. People are going to work at that time in the morning. Buses are going past. There's a garage. There's a pub. There used to be a public toilet on that side, which is now a kind of little mini supermarket. Then you got the bingo wall next to the betting shop, and the little side street that goes round the back, which leads to two outs, and you can go around the back of the betting shop. You can get out onto Upper Parliament Street if you turn right, or you can get out onto Beaumont Street if you turn left. And then there's a pub behind there. So somebody obviously seen something, because in the undisclosed evidence, there's a car heard screeching going down Beaumont Street not long after this has happened. Two people jump out the car, go into one of the masonettes, come out with bundles of clothes. Some kid shouts at them some kid wanted to go with them. There must have been one of their dads. He said, no, we've got to get away. So it's just like that appeal is for anybody who might have seen something that morning between probably 9 and 10 to actually come forward and try and give us justice, not just me, but the victims' family as well, because you can imagine what they're going through. They haven't had justice for their son. It's just so strange that he was begging to be moved somewhere else the day before after he'd been threatened. You're in Toxteth. Toxteth used to be a no-go area for police at the time. You could commit any crime in Liverpool. As soon as you hit the top of Upper Parliament Street, the police wouldn't go in. They'd stop. So you could just drive in, do whatever you wanted. The police weren't doing nothing. Now, if these were known at the time for being a gang, hatchet gang, had form, you know what I mean? Why weren't the stories analysed more thoroughly?
Ray, it's a cracking story, and anybody who wants or can help the appeal for information, you can either follow Ray Gilbert on YouTube. You can email Ray Gilbert at raydgilbert03@gmail.com, or you can phone Ray or text him on 0758 73 00 453, and that's for anyone who's got any information on the murder of Mr. Suffield, Lodge Lane, Liverpool, on Friday the 13th of March 1981 between 9:30 a.m. and 10 a.m. It's something which I'm sure there is probably something to come out at some point, Ray. I think, you know, this story has still got a lot of twists and turns to go. It's been a fascinating one, and I just want to say thank you to you for sharing it, and best of luck, mate, with that appeal.
Thank you for having me on, Steve. I appreciate it, and allowing me to come out and tell my side of things.
No problem, mate. Thanks very much. That's the end of the podcast. Take care. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Take care. Thank you.
Thanks to all our sponsors. Spider VPN for all your internet security. Google Spider VPN. They come up at the top of the Google search list. They are the boys to trust and will protect your computer from unwanted bugs. Skipsandbins.com, telephone 0800 25 45 25 3, email inquiries at skipsandbins.com, website www.skipsandbins.com, easy contract, free and pay-as-you-go waste collection. Thanks also to L&G Family Funeral Directors, 0191 389 7245, and to Garden of Healing Dispensary, CBD hemp and cannabinoid specialists, www.gohd.com. Thanks also to Arcot Interiors for all your kitchen necessities. You can find them at the bottom of Heaton Road, and Google Arcot Interiors. They come up at the top of the Google search list. Thanks also to qtechshop.co.uk, the makers of pool tables and snooker tables in Wales and Newcastle, and the guys who run our website, NUFCmatters.com. Thanks also to jabsignature.co.uk for all of the flyers that they do for us. Thanks to Media Arts for all the video work. If you're a first-time visitor to the channel, please subscribe. Hit the Newcastle Legends logo in the bottom right-hand corner, and that's it. You can subscribe for free. We still do 7 shows a week, and they are all free. Hit the thumb up underneath the video to like it. Click share to your social media, and drop into the comments box to speak to like-minded Newcastle fans. We're also available as a podcast on iTunes and Spotify and other podcast providers. The show usually goes up 24 hours after the show. If you want to join the NUFC Matters cult and get a cup, a pen, a scarf, and your membership card and entry into the monthly draw, put your phone over this QR code and it will take you straight to the website. Failing that, go to NUFCmatters.com and become a member. If you want to come and see Malcolm MacDonald pre-match or post-match, we are at the Dog and Parrot. It's kid-friendly and it goes great food and beer, and you can come and meet Malcolm in person before the match or after the match during the season. Make a donation to the food bank via nufcfansfoodbank.co.uk. The matchday bucket is operational 365 days of the year. If you want to follow us on social media, then go to NUFC Matters. We've got a Facebook group and we've got a Facebook page. And if you're into the true crime stuff that we do, then follow Steve Wraith's True Crime Interviews, and that is a Facebook group. My personal Twitter follow-on page is @Steve Wraith, and Instagram is Steve Wraith. Give me a follow on there too.